When the original.
I said, don't hear, stop the phone.
It's right there. And my person. I'll let you send this one for now. This is the best thing to think. Please send it to me now. It's very important for me. Give me a message. I can send it. It's very important for me. How are you? Bowers? Okay. You give the number to, you have your contact, right?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you. All right.
Whilst His Excellency makes his way to the podium, I recall several decades ago, sir, I had applied to travel to one of these Western countries during a vacation, and I was bounced, and the reason was that I hadn't traveled out of Ghana before. A few months later, we attended Nigeria for the first time to attend a youth conference, and we were taken to the Obasanjo farms in Nota. So Nigeria is my gateway to Africa. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, my brother, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency, my brother, the former President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan, and who is the owner of the foundation that has brought us together. I was not supposed to be talking to you now, but the Executive Director of the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation came to me as I was sitting by Bishop Kuka, who is supposed to give a keynote address. I was supposed to have a fireside child. And I was prepared for that. I don't know where the fire will come from. But I was prepared for a child. Then she came to me and said, "Do you mind saying something now?" I said, "But you did not warn me that I would be saying something now." He said, "You should say something." Well, before I was then thinking, what should I say, what should I do? And I want to seek advice from the man on my left, and that Bishop Hooker. To say, "Bishop Hooker, what do I say?" And I thought he would probably be saying in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. And even before I could ask him, then the lady, who is the mistress of the ceremony, called me up. And you see me coming up, feeling unprepared, untutored. Yes. And I listened to the president of ECOWAS, who ended on 3 notes. I will start on 3 notes too. And probably we will deliberate more on those 3 points as the day goes by. Democracy dies because democracy has refused to be reformed. There are 3 aspects of democracy that cannot continue to exist the way it was as defined by the American president. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. And in that definition, democracy is meant to be all people's action. And if democracy will not die and be buried, not just die and be buried, democracy must be reformed in context, in content, and in practice. In my part of the world, we have a saying that the thing that killed the vegetable is the insect in the vegetable. The thing that is killing democracy, and will kill it, is the practice of democracy. All the essentials that should be part and parcel of democracy are being ignored or
His opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Shalima. Thank you, please. Please use your seat. Thank you very much. Let me proceed on established protocol. I think my daughter Shalima has acknowledged everybody. And so I'll just say a few preliminary words about the subject, and then after that I'll read a very short speech that I've been given. As a student of history, I always like to go back into the past. And we've had various stages of the development of our democracy. And every stage is important because we have to take lessons learned in order that we come out better. And so the first stage was the liberation of the African continent of which Ghana played a very significant role. Yeah, Ghanaians, you can clap for that. And actually became the launch pad of the African liberation movement. As young children, we knew that Kaunda, Mugabe, and all of them lived in Ghana and held Ghanaian passports, diplomatic passports, to prevent them from being harassed or arrested. And so there was the excitement that if we came under self-rule and we governed ourselves, prosperity will naturally come. Unfortunately, Ghana again, the pioneer in most things, quickly dispatched our first president in a coup, and then our Nigerian cousins also followed, and all the other countries followed. And our countries went under military rule. It's been a rotating window of military governments return to constitutional democracy, military governments return to constitutional democracy. And in Ghana's case, of course, we had the NLC, the National Liberation Council, and then we had the Progressive Party government, UP government under Dr. Buzia. Then, of course, the National Redemption Council, the Supreme Military Council, then to the Third Republic under the PNP, Dr. Liman. Then came the June 4, and back to democracy, and then 31st December. After a long period under military rule, we came to a consensus, and it was like the Arab Spring for Africa, where we decided that we had had enough of military dictatorship, and that the people will be better served by democratic and constitutional governance. And so one by one, African countries began to pivot back to constitutional rule and democratic governance. But the thing is, democratic governance guarantees the rights and freedoms of the people, which is true. But in themselves will not bring opportunity and economic prosperity unless you abide by certain principles. And so Ghana went back to constitutional democracy in 1992. There was a lot of excitement about it. President Rawlings became the first civilian president of Ghana, followed by President Kufuor. And since then, it's been a revolving door of NDC at one time for 8 years, MPP 2 comes for 8 years. But for those who attended my inauguration, if you were not on the Black Side Square and we had locked you in a room and you could hear the announcement of the acknowledgement of the presidents who were coming up to greet me, you'd have noticed that the loudest applause was for the countries that have overthrown democracy and are under military dictatorship. That should give us a pause for thought. That should make us think. And that should make us ask ourselves questions about why democracies die. And that's why the topic of today is relevant. What are the things we need to do to sustain democracy? Democracy will not survive by itself if we don't work for it. And like Omar Toure said, whatever system of government you have, autocracy, democracy, theocracy, whatever, if it does not deliver opportunities and prosperity to the people, it will not survive. And so the excitement of going back to democratic governance, by 2024, before we held elections, it was clear that the excitement had continued, had completely disappeared. Because all the Afrobarometer surveys and all the other surveys, they did. And in many of these surveys, they added the question, do you prefer democratic government or would you support a coup d'etat? And it was frightening to notice that a lot of our young people said that they prefer to live under a military government. And so that should give us pause for thought. And that is why I said that we need a reset of our democracy. We need a reset of our economy. We need a reset of our governance. We need to make our governance accountable. And that's why I say anybody who wants to serve in public office must be prepared to account to the people. The people are tired of the corruption. They're tired of misgovernance. They are tired of the lack of opportunity. And that is why for those of us who believe in democracy, we must continue to take the advantage of dialogues like this to see what is wrong with our implementation of democracy so that we can make a reset that makes the youth continue to have faith in democratic governance and not romanticize unconstitutional government. So these are just a few words I thought we would talk about, but also to mention the role of the new media. We don't have the traditional TV and radios as the main source of information now. Anybody puts a camera in front of his face and can make a commentary on anything. And so there again, how do we accommodate the new media in democratic consolidation? Maybe that might be the topic for the next democracy dialogue. And I think the executive director will take note of that. But this is the little speech I wrote, and so I'll go through that and just put my points on record. On behalf of the people and government of Ghana, I extend a warm welcome to you all. And I say, Akwaba, Obake, Wezo, Sandezua. I mean, all our languages have the word welcome, and I think we accommodate everybody. It is our privilege and an honor to host the 2025 Democracy Dialogue. And we owe a debt of gratitude to President Goodluck Jonathan, who has been a towering pillar and whose life embodies the struggle for democracy, peace, and progress in Africa. And through this dialogue, he continues to remind us that democracy is not self-sustaining. It must be nurtured and defended. And I wish to thank all the important people who have come, President Olusegun Obasanjo, Peter Obi, and I mean too many to mention, to lend your presence to this all-important dialogue. Our theme, Why Democracy Dies, Why Democracies Die, is not a verdict but a warning. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. Around the world, democratic systems are under strain. Václav Havel, the Czech statesman, once observed, democracy is not something that occurs once for all. It must be fought for every day. That is precisely the spirit of this dialogue we're undertaking. History offers us sobering lessons. In Latin America, democracies collapsed under juntas in the 70s, but later renewal came through truth, reconciliation, and strong institutions. In Asia, South Korea and Taiwan showed how democracies can thrive alongside economic growth, while Myanmar warns of reversals when militarism overwhelms institutions. In Europe, the rise of fascism in the 1930s teaches us how despair and demagoguery can corrode democracy. In the United States, Abraham Lincoln's immortal words still echo. He says, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." And yet, government of the people, by the people, for the people, survival is never guaranteed. Ghana has earned recognition as a beacon of democracy in Africa. And since 1992, we've witnessed peaceful transitions, a vibrant media, resilient civil society. But let us be candid. Some negatives in our politics threaten survival of democracy. Inequality, lack of opportunity for young people, monetization of our politics, misinformation, and all others pose grave risks to the survival of democracy. Kwame Nkrumah once warned, and I quote, he said, "Freedom is not something that one people can bestow on another as a gift. They claim it as their own, and none can keep it from them. Our people claim their freedom, but we must guard it jealously." This was Kwame Nkrumah. You could change freedom and put democracy, and it would be the same thing. So my question is, why democracies fail? And why democracies die? The first one is weak institutions that fail to protect the rights of the people. The second is corruption and elite capture that erodes the trust of the people in democratic governance. The third is exclusion and inequality that alienate portions of the citizenry. The fourth is leadership deficits that squander legitimacy of governments. And the fifth is external pressures that exploit the vulnerability in democratic systems. And so, to renew democracy, we must do certain things. Of course, the first one is that we must strengthen institutions, independent courts, parliaments, and our electoral bodies. The second is that we must deliver development, because democracy without development, democracy without roads, democracy without schools, hospitals, and jobs will always be at risk. The third, we must educate our citizens. For us, Thomas Sankara said, and I quote, he said, "A soldier without political education or ideological training is a potential criminal." The same is true of leadership without ethical grounding. The fourth, we must protect media and civic space. A free press is democracy's immune system. We must also build regional solidarity, because the fall of democracy in one nation weakens democracy in all other nations. As host, Ghana recommits to upholding democracy, not just in rhetoric, but in practice. We'll defend the independence of our institutions, we'll support free expression, and we'll continue to stand with ECOWAS in promoting democratic governance across West Africa. Distinguished citizens, democracy dies when citizens lose faith, when leaders abandon integrity, and institutions succumb to capture. But democracy can be renewed when citizens rise to defend it. And as the former Czech President Havel said again, and I quote, he said, "The salvation of this human world lies nowhere else than in the human heart." The survival of democracy depends on us, leaders, citizens, institutions, and for us choosing courage over complacency. And so let this dialogue in Accra be remembered not as a lament for dying democracies, but as a rebirth of hope. Let us leave here with a renewed determination to safeguard our democracies, to make our democracies deliver, and pass on to the future generations a legacy of freedom, justice, and dignity. And as an African proverb says, when the roots of the tree are deep, there is no reason to fear the wind. If the roots of our democracy are deep, there is no need to fear unconstitutional governance. If we deepen the roots of our democracy in our nations, it will withstand any storm. May God bless this gathering, may God bless Africa, and I wish you fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for His Excellency John Drama.
Melody. Flowers. Okay. You give the number to, you have your contact, right?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you. All right.